A wooden cart crashes over the stones below and jolts you awake. Smoke hangs inside a cramped room, and angry voices rise through the floorboards. You push open a warped shutter and freeze. Marble temples tower over crowded apartment blocks. Merchants are opening their shops, workers are carrying baskets through the streets, and everyone is speaking a language you barely understand. This is Rome in the year 125. You check your clothing and find a plain tunic with leather sandals, but your pockets are completely empty. No phone, no Roman coins. Nobody here knows your name, and you have no idea who owns the room in which you awakened. Heavy footsteps begin climbing the stairs toward you. Staying here is no longer an option. You slip through the doorway and join the crowd below. The sun has just risen. To survive, you must remain unnoticed until it rises again. You step into a narrow staircase and discover that you have awakened near the top of a Roman apartment block. Wealthier residents usually prefer the safer rooms below, while poorer families crowd into smaller rooms above. Water must be carried upstairs, cooking flames are dangerous, and a single accident can threaten the entire building. Outside, Rome is already moving. Delivery carts finish their nighttime journeys before the streets become too crowded. Shopkeepers raise wooden shutters, workers carry baskets, animals squeeze through narrow lanes, and residents gather around public fountains. The air smells of bread, smoke, animals, and thousands of people living close together. There are no traffic lights and almost no signs you can understand. Your first survival rule becomes clear. Do not stand in the middle of the street looking confused. In Rome, your clothing, confidence, and companions immediately tell people where you belong. Right now, you belong nowhere. Hunger soon becomes your next problem. At a street counter, you see bread, beans, olives, cheese, and bowls of hot grain. There are no tomatoes, potatoes, or the familiar Italian meals of the modern world. You point toward a loaf, but the seller holds out his hand for payment. Your modern money would be useless here. Fortunately, a baker nearby notices you staring at several heavy flour sacks. He gestures toward them and then toward his shop. You understand the offer. After an exhausting hour of carrying supplies, he gives you bread, a few olives, and one small Roman coin. It is not generosity, it is an exchange. Still, it keeps you moving. You eat beside a fountain and carefully watch the crowd. Rome rewards people who can be useful, but it offers little protection to strangers without family or status. Your modern education matters less than your ability to observe, adapt, and avoid attracting the wrong attention. By late morning, the crowd pulls you toward the Roman Forum. Marble temples rise above vast public buildings. Lawyers argue cases, merchants make agreements, officials pass with attendance, and speakers compete for attention. This is not simply the center of Rome. It is a stage where power is constantly displayed. A wealthy citizen may wear formal clothing and move through the crowd surrounded by clients. A laborer steps aside. A visitor waits to be acknowledged. Enslaved people, freed people, citizens, and foreigners can walk through the same space while living under completely different rules. You understand almost none of the words, but body language tells you enough. Do not block an important person. Do not touch sacred objects. Do not enter a restricted building simply because the doorway is open. In the modern world, you survive with identification and laws. Here, survival often depends on reputation, witnesses, and someone powerful being willing to speak for you. The afternoon heat settles over the city, and the baker points you toward a public bath. Using your small coin, you enter one of Rome's most important social spaces. The building contains changing areas and rooms that move from warm to hot and then cold. People exercise, wash with oil, discuss business, exchange rumors, and search for useful connections. The bath is part bathroom, part meeting place, and part community center. You keep your belongings close and copy what everyone else is doing. Speaking would expose how little Latin you know, so listening becomes your greatest advantage. A conversation nearby grows tense, and instead of staring, you quietly move away. This is another lesson from Roman psychology. People survive by understanding the group. They notice rank, alliances, and behavior. You may know more science than anyone inside the building, but that knowledge cannot help if everyone decides you are suspicious. As afternoon becomes evening, the city changes again. Many Romans prepare for their main meal of the day. Wealthy families may eat several dishes inside decorated homes, while ordinary residents depend on bread, vegetables, beans, and whatever else they can afford. The baker allows you to share a simple meal because you worked without causing trouble. In the distance, a huge crowd moves toward public entertainment. On festival days, races, performances, and arena events can pull thousands of people together. You are tempted to follow, but a packed crowd is dangerous when you cannot understand warnings or directions. Instead, you remain near familiar streets. This decision may save your night. Ancient Rome is spectacular, but it is not a theme park built for visitors. Every impressive monument exists beside poverty, hard labor, and extreme social inequality. The safest place is not always the most exciting one. It is the place where at least one person recognizes you. The sun disappears, and Rome becomes darker than any modern city you know. Oil lamps glow inside shops and homes, but many streets remain shadowy. Heavy carts return because much commercial traffic moves after daylight hours. Their wheels echo between the buildings. Small flames flicker everywhere, making fire one of the city's greatest dangers. Rome has night watchmen who patrol streets and respond to fires, but there is no modern emergency service coming within minutes. You cannot afford an inn, and sleeping alone outside would leave you exposed to theft or questioning. Your best chance is the relationship you created earlier. The baker allows you to rest inside a storage room in exchange for helping again at dawn. The room is uncomfortable, but it has a door, a roof, and people nearby. For the first time, you understand Rome's most important survival tool. It is not strength, wealth, or secret knowledge. It is belonging. Hours later, pale sunlight enters through a gap in the shutters. You hear voices outside and realize that you have reached the next morning. You survived ancient Rome for 24 hours. But did you survive because you were smarter than the Romans? Not really. You survived because time travel gave you suitable clothing, a worker offered you an opportunity, and you learned when to remain quiet. Without those advantages, the result could have been very different. The greatest danger was never being thrown into an arena. It was having no money, no language, no legal status, and nobody who knew your name. Ancient Rome created roads, aqueducts, public baths, and monuments that still amaze us. But for an individual person, safety depended heavily on class, family, and social connections. So could you survive one full day in ancient Rome? Possibly, but only if you stopped acting like a modern tourist and quickly learned how to become part of the ancient crowd.